Okay, so I've had a lot of questions about servicing fire hydrants, and so we've got a Mueller 2012 Centurion here that we're gonna go ahead and service. Just to give you an idea though of the things that I use, the only way to do this efficiently is to have a set of tools that's already set up, ready to go. Many water guys are busy with other things, and they try to get fire hydrants in between jobs. Well, the only way that's going to happen is if you have a tool set that's ready to go and get them knocked out. But even if you have a whole day allotted to this, you're still going to be a lot more efficient if you've got things set up. So here's my tool bag, and in the tool bag I've got a grease gun with a brush, my oil bottle, I've got a impact with a 1/4 inch bit on there. You can get different size bits that'll fit like the AVK fire hydrants and everything else, but I also carry a set of Allen wrenches just in case, and then of course you also need a diffuser. So we're going to go ahead and do this. I will show you step by step what I do. First thing is you look at the hydrant and say, is there any damage? Do I see anything that is a problem with the hydrant? I see I've got my gate valve for the hydrant right next to it. This hydrant is actually leaning just a little bit. It's the first time servicing this fire hydrant, but I will make a note that this has a slight lean to it. That way it's not something that we're constantly guessing every time we come out here. Is it damaged, or is this how it was put in? I know from talking to the operator though that this one, it was put in at an angle, so it's just how it was installed. First thing I'm going to do after I've got all that and I got that information recorded, the year, model, and what it looks like, you can see it's nice and clean around here. I'm going to go ahead and take off a cap, and I'm taking off the one that I'm going to flush out of, which I'm going to go up this hill a little bit. Normally I go down the hill, but we've got things I don't want to wash out down there. So take the cap off. And the first thing I'm going to do is listen and make sure that there's not a leak happening inside. The easiest way to do that is just to put your ear right in here. Now you'll hear, it's like putting a seashell to your ear. You'll hear an echo of noises, things like that. And it might even sound a little like running water, but the truth is if you have a leak, you will actually hear the water running. You will hear water at least trickling, if not spraying inside. And it's not doing that, so we're good to continue. So now, put the cap back on. Snug it down just a little bit. Same thing for this cap, make sure that that's on there snug. Taking all the caps, got it. Now what I'm gonna do is flush the weep holes. I'm gonna take this out just a little bit until I hear the water start rushing. There we go. Now I'm gonna go about a 1/4 more. I'm gonna leave it right there. Now what I've just done is build pressure inside the fire hydrant, and it is hopefully pushing any debris away from the weep holes. Until this is about halfway open, those weep holes are still exposed, and so the pressure should theoretically push water out of those weep holes and clear the area around there if there was any debris. So let that run for about 15 seconds, close it back down. Heard the water stop. So now while I'm waiting for the pressure to fall, I'm gonna go ahead and put some oil in there. This is a 1/4 inch bit. You just stick it in there. Make sure it goes in good, because this plug is brass. They strip out really, really easily. And there it is. Pour me my mineral oil, food grade mineral oil, until it starts to come back out. And that's a lot of oil. There we go. But this, I have it on good authority, this has not been done since it was first installed. So now I've added my lubrication. I'm going to go ahead and take this off. I'm going to put the diffuser on there. You can hear it's still blowing a little bit of air. And when you're diffusing, you want to make sure you're not going to do any damage to the yard, to a gravel driveway, to the highway. If you can avoid putting water on the road, that's always better and safer. Sometimes you can't. Just make sure that you set precautionary cones or something, or have somebody letting people know. You'd think people would know not to drive through a whole bunch of water, but they do it all the time, so it's better to just be safe. All right, now we're going to open the hydrant. We're going to open it fairly slowly. Now you'll feel it should be fairly free right at first, and then you start to engage the valve down at the bottom. That valve has been sitting there a while, so it's going to be a little stiff. So you want to break that loose. Now I'm letting the water catch up, and then I'll start finishing over. Nice and slow. And this puddle is why I usually flush them uphill or downhill, so that I don't end up standing in a bunch of water. But that's all right. It's just the way it is sometimes. And in everything we're doing, we're trying to take care of the customer. So when I was flushing it, number one, I went all the way open, which was about 16 turns on a Mueller Centurion. Went all the way open and then slowly back all the way closed. And what I'm doing is paying attention for any vibrating noises, any rough spots in the operation. It should be nice and smooth. And you notice when I closed it down, like I wasn't done turning it. I didn't wait till it stopped. As soon as the valve shut and it closed the water off, I'm done. There's no reason to snug it up. If you have to snug it up, something needs to be fixed in the valve side. So this is nice and loose. And I'll go ahead and take this off and go ahead and lubricate. Now, what we want to do is take all the caps off and lubricate them. Lubricate the threads. Now you will see some people use anti-seize. And although that stuff is very good, it's also very expensive and unnecessary. You can simply use the mineral grease, same grease that you use for lubricating certain fire hydrants. Just put a generous portion of grease on the threads. And especially if you're doing this, I mean, anti-seize is good if you're only going to do it like once every couple of years. But if you're doing this twice a year, like you should, then you'll find that this is actually more than enough. And you'll have to skip some days of doing this. When you're lubing this, make sure you get the threads, but especially the face. I mean, threads are good too, but you got to get that face. And what that does is help to condition that rubber seal and make sure that it continues to have a nice, good seal. The other thing we do is we are looking to make sure that water went back down nice and smooth and quick, and it did. It drained really, really fast. Once I pulled the caps off, there was no more water coming out. It had already disappeared. So we know that's good. Now, fix that water out of there. Put the caps, make sure the chains aren't bound up and that you got the right cap going to the right side. This one's over here. And the cap's not on here, so we need to make a note that we'll need to crimp that back on. But right now, all I'm doing is servicing the fire hydrant. So I've got enough tools with me to take care of that. I've got a gate valve key in case something happens and I have to shut the pressure down to the fire hydrant. But that's it. So this hydrant has been serviced, lubricated, flushed. I know the water's nice and clean. Sometimes when you open them, the water comes out dirty. You've got to let it run until the water cleans up some. Especially if you're getting a lot of gravel come out, let that gravel come out because you don't want that getting stuck in the seat. Anyway, it's that simple though. For the most part, we can flush and lubricate fire hydrants in between 8 to 10 minutes, just depending on what you run into. And you can get a lot of them done in just one day if you stay steady, but you've got to have your tools organized. But that's it. Just a few simple steps and this hydrant will be working good for a long time to come.